another Teaching Tuesday. We're continuing our Beyond Beginner Ukulele series this week with the big idea, songs as layers. What I mean by that, of course, is when you hear a song, there are lots of musical layers that are interacting with each other and kind of creating this bigger pattern that we think of as the song that we are singing or hearing or playing. And one of the ways we can improve our practice is to break those layers down and put them together piece by piece. This video is going to introduce you to 5 main ideas about this idea of layering, and then over the course of the week, I'll share some videos that illustrate these different principles and how you might apply them to practicing specific songs. So let's dive in. Number 1, if songs are made of layers, what are these layers? As ukulele players, sing and strummers, it's typically strumming, chording, and singing. Those are the 3 basic layers that we're trying to bring into coordination with each other. However, if you're like most of my students, you may have a pretty good handle on a good strum pattern, get some chord patterns under your belt, and then you start to sing, and it all falls apart, right? You are not alone in that. And that's because singing itself is made up of different layers. We've got the rhythm of what we sing, the melody of what we sing, and the lyrics. So I encourage you to open your ears when you're listening to music. Listen for those different layers. What's the beat of the strum pattern? What is the progression of the chords? And what is the, not just the lyrics that are being sung, but the melody and the rhythm, how all these layers fit together. Opening your ears to those layers and just hearing the conversation between them in the recorded music that you listen to lays a great foundation for then breaking down these layers in the music that you are learning how to play and putting it together to see how they are interacting with each other. Number 2, before you try to put all 3 layers together, don't forget that there are actually 3 2-layer combinations that you can work on, right? You're probably very familiar with chording and strumming, right? But maybe not singing along. Don't forget that you can leave the chords out and just strum, mute your strings. I'll grab the ukulele. You can mute your strings here, start your strum pattern, and sing along with that pattern. And you can start to hear where the melody and the lyrics fit together with the strum pattern and the overall beat of the song. Likewise, you can let the strumming go and just work your way through the chord pattern, keeping time with the metronome, and noticing where the melody and the lyrics line up with the chord changes. So don't forget those 2-layer combinations that can really also help build the foundation for putting all 3 layers together. Number 3, there are 2 little mini layers that you can use as you're working to put the 3 major layers together. They are audiation and visualization. Visualization, of course, is being able to see something in your mind. Audiation is the same thing, just hearing something in your mind, right? So if you know, for example, what the chord progression is to a song, you can work that strum pattern, close your eyes, and hear what that chord progression is going to sound like as you're moving around the fretboard, right? But without having to actually move your hand. You're just focusing on what I like to call the band in the back of your head and how that's fitting into what you're doing with your strum pattern, right? Likewise, if you're working on your chord pattern, you can you can audiate how the strum pattern sounds. Dun, 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 da, 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 and where those chord changes line up with the strum pattern, right? That's audiation. Visualization we can use in a couple different ways. You can use the visual of your song chart to sort of follow along with your strum pattern and watching to see, oh yeah, here's a chord change, here's a chord change, here's a chord change. You can also look at your fretboard to see where your fingers might be on the fretboard, visualizing, spotting yourself, okay, I'm not going to actually move my fingers there, but where are they generally going, right, before you actually bring your hand up to bring those 2 layers together. So those are 2 tools you can use, audiation, visualization. As I said, I'll get a little bit deeper into those in videos coming up later this week. Number 4, start with the harder layer for you and work in the easier one. So often, say, if we feel really good about a strum pattern, we're strumming along and then we're trying to add these fancy chords on top and it's just getting really hard to keep that tempo steady. Reverse it. Work your way through the layer of the chords, then start to add the strum pattern in. You want to add in the easier thing so there's not as much distance between what you're doing and what you want to do. And finally, number 5, layering takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. One general rule that I have for practice is frequency over duration. You're going to do a lot better working 5 minutes a day for 5 days as opposed to waiting until that 5th day and trying to cram 25 minutes worth of practice in. Especially when you're working on a new piece of music or a new skill of some sort, you want to keep it short. Set a timer no more than 5 minutes and just come back to it as often as you can. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Little moment where something's cooking on the stove, you're just waiting for it to finish. A little lull in the day. If you can work in some sneaky practice waiting in line somewhere, that is all super helpful to giving your brain some regular practice, but not overtaxing it too much with too much new information all in one period. Quick review. Number 1, songs are layers. Listen for them. Number 2, as you start to practice in layers, put them together in 2-layer combinations. Strumming and chording, chording and singing, singing and strumming. Number 3, don't forget those mini layers, audiation, visualization. What do you see in your mind? What do you hear in your mind? And how can that provide sort of an in-between step between one layer and adding the next? Number 4, don't forget that when you are putting layers together, you want to start with the tougher one, give some good time to that, and then work in the one that feels easier for you. And finally, number 5, frequency over duration in your practice. Make sure you get lots of teeny tiny little practice sessions in there as much as you can throughout your day and week. As I mentioned, I'll be posting videos this week that provide concrete examples of what these layering exercises and principles might look like in your practice. I'll be using Wagon Wheel as an example song, so be sure to stay tuned for that tutorial coming up here next. And then throughout the week, check back. We'll dive a little bit deeper in our practice of that song. I think it's a nice one to model these exercises with. Pretty straightforward strum pattern, straightforward chord pattern, very sing-alongable chorus. But my hope is that once you practice along with me on that particular tune, you'll be able to apply those same exercises to whatever songs you are working on as well. So I look forward to practicing along with you this week. Be sure to check out the tutorial for Wagon Wheel next. Thank you so much for joining me. If this video was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe below. It really helps spread the word about this channel. Also, I encourage you to consider becoming a member. It's a great way to say thank you, to keep this channel going, and to enjoy some perks along the way. You can learn more by clicking join below. Thank you so much. Any active engagement is an act of support. I really appreciate it. You can learn more about my work at averyhill.studio.